So first off, the cloud adoption framework. So the Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework is a Microsoft strategy built on their experience of moving thousands of customers to Azure. Compromises expert guidance, tools and best practices that will assist you in aligning the different phases of the cloud adoption lifecycle to ensure easy access to the right guidance at the right time. So the framework consists of multiple phases, including strategy. Why are you moving to the cloud? How does this align with the business strategy of the company? What is the technology strategy of the company, and how can adoption of Microsoft Azure help you meet those goals? Then we get to the planning stage. So now you understand the motivations of the business, you can start planning. One of the things that calls out there, is skills readiness plan. If you're being asked to take responsibility for the move to Azure, operating it and the security, getting a good understanding of that platform is key. There are literally hundreds of resources to help you gain and improve your knowledge of the Azure platform, starting with Azure fundamentals from when you first start looking at Azure, right up to specific articles and documentations that we've seen on individual elements. It also talks in there about formulating a cloud adoption plan. So getting ready to move, how are you going to make that a success, and how are you going to know you've made it a success, that move to Azure? These two kind of key stages in preparing yourself, getting ready for the next stage, which is the ready phase. So this is where the landing zone sits. Building your first landing zone, prepares the ground for the workloads and applications that you're going to move across to Azure. Landing zones are all about best practice, getting that designed in up front and starting off on the right foot, and that can be across, not just things like sort of cost and reliability, but looking at things like security, to make sure that what you're deploying fits within the frameworks that you need to be addressing or meeting as part of your deployment and your responsibility for data and services on Azure. For those of you that unfamiliar with landing zones, a landing zone is an environment for hosting your workloads in Azure, pre-provisioned through code. And what it really does, it kind of provides a vehicle for the governance standards and set some guardrails that will form part of your Azure security strategy going forward. So the next stage is adopt. This is the fun stuff. This is where you start making decisions about the workloads that you're going to deploy to Azure. So do you want to migrate, or have you got a pressing need like a data center exit or something like that? You need to pick up and move those workloads quickly, lift and shift. Or are you looking at innovating and building brand new cloud native versions of applications or brand new applications? Or are you somewhere between, a hybrid solution where you've got elements or certain applications that are going to sit within cloud, and then perhaps some other elements that will sit on-prem. Underpinning all of this, everything that sits within your Azure environment is governance and management. So for governance, really, it focuses on a couple of things there, really, best practice, making sure that your workloads are meeting industry standards. So you may have industry standards specific to your industry, you might have regulatory requirements that you have to meet. All of that forms part of your strategy around governance. You can see benchmarks mentioned in there as well, and also we'll talk about that a bit more later on. And then management, operating a cloud environment is different from on-prem. So really understanding what you need to deliver as an operations baseline, what good looks like when it's running, what healthy looks like, and this could be a really a key step in security. Generally when someone gets control of a VM or someone hacks a service and they start to use it, they tend to start to do things that the machine wouldn't normally do, and they drive up usage of things like RAM and resources, and that can sometimes be an early indication of a bad actor. So the cloud adoption framework was focused on making your transition to Azure an success laying solid foundations for the workloads that you're looking to migrate and making sure that they are well governed and secure. The next framework we're going to look at is the well-architected framework. And Microsoft provide the Azure well-architected framework out to the market as their set of guiding principles for the delivery, of cloud workloads. There's nothing, new. The well-architected framework isn't really something, completely brand new. If you look at those pillars, the reliability, cost optimization, operational excellence, performance efficiency, and obviously finally security, they're things that, people that have been designing systems have had to find that balance for the workload they've deployed. However, for applications and workloads that are being deployed to Azure, if you are able to really take advantage of those cloud native tools, the designs can become much more complicated. Looking more, rather than kind of running single VMs or a couple of VMs, you're looking at distributed systems running across lots of services. And that's great because they're generally much more efficient, they're much more cost effective on Azure, but it can become more difficult to design and operate. So this well-architected framework aims to help, with this guiding principles and tools that are available. Some of those are built right into the platform itself to assist you with deploying your workloads into Azure. So looking at that diagram on the right hand side, well, I think it looks like a flower. At the center, you've got this Azure well-architected framework, which includes the 5 pillars that we've spoken about, including security, which is our focus for today. Surrounding that well-architected framework are 6 supporting elements. So you've got the Azure well-architected review. So if you've got existing workloads on Azure and you find them challenging from any of the kind of 5 principles that you see there, you can run through a well-architected review to existing workload and kind of measure against that and improve the solution or improve the workload that's running. You've got Azure Advisor. So as we said, this is one of the tools that's built into the platform. This will provide recommendations on how you can improve the workload and the individual elements that you're running. And the 5 areas that it focuses on are the ones that are around the well-architected framework. You then got documentation. We've already spoken about that. You've got partners, support, and services. So partners like Cloud Direct, we get involved with our customers all the time to kind of assist, whether it's sort of skills gaps or sometimes just bottlenecks in terms of availability of people. We're able to sort of scale and help and deliver projects for customers. And then reference architectures and design principles. So there's a Azure Architecture Center. Within that, you get reference architectures and you can search by workload type. So if you've got a mobile application, you can kind of look up those reference architectures. It will take you through the services that have been deployed. And obviously anything that's within that architecture center is going to have one eye on security. It's going to be built against the well-architected framework. And then design principles, so avoiding anti-patterns that limit your growth or perhaps expose you to security risks that you don't need to.